Good morning, fourth graders. We are back with our second part of the third lesson of this unit, 3-3. We are doing more practice with the place value sections method and the expanded notation method today. We're going to do this before Ms. Wade teaches us a new method tomorrow. So our targets, our goals again today are just practicing dividing bigger dividends to find the quotient. We're finding the size of the groups in a division situation, and we're going to practice both of those methods. We're talking about dividends, the largest number that we're dividing by the divisor, and the quotient is the answer to our division problem. And we are going to practice, practice, practice. So on page 103 in your math packet, you will see question 12 about halfway down the page. And we're going to do this one together. And I just want you to remember these 3 steps that we do in every problem, whether we're using place value sections method or expanded notation. We divide, we multiply, we subtract. So we are going to use place value sections method first. And we are dividing by 2. And remember, when we are dividing by 2, we are talking about our 2 times table. So you may have your multiplication card that you can look along the 2 times table if you don't already have it mentally in your head. And our dividend is 4,276. We are going to solve partial products in thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones and then add our partial products to get our quotient. So if we look at this first, 4,000 divided by 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we're going to put 2,000 up the top. And 2 times 2, so we've divided first, now we're multiplying. The 2 times 2,000 is 4,000. So now we subtract and we see what we have left to work with. So out of the 4,276, we have already figured out that in these 2 groups are going to have 2,000 each in the groups. And now we've got 276 left to work with. Let's move that into our hundreds place. 2 divided by 2, because I'm just looking in the hundreds place. Well, we can do 1, can't we? 2 divided by 2 is 1. If I look along in my 2 times table place on the multiplication card, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, that's 100 because we're in the hundreds place. Now 2 times 100, because now we're multiplying, is 200. And we subtract to find what is left. After we have divided 276 by 2 in hundreds, how many hundreds in each group? 1. So what's left? 76. So we're doing divide, multiply, subtract at every step. We take that's 76 into the tens. 7 tens. 7 divided by 2. I'm going to look at my 2 times table. I don't get to 7, but 6 is just before 7. 2 times 3 is 6. So I can divide 7 tens. I can get 2 lots of 30. Okay? And 2 times 30 is 60. We've divided, we've multiplied, now we are subtracting. I apologize if you can hear my dishwasher going in the background. So we have 16 left to move into the ones place. 16 divided by 2, we always divide first. 16 divided between 2 groups gives us 8. 2 times 8, we multiply that together to see if we've got a remainder, is 16, and we subtract, there's no remainder. Let's add those partial products together to see what our quotient is. 2,138. So if we divide 4,276 into 2 groups, each of those groups will have 2,138. We are going to do the same thing again with expanded notation. And I want you to see how each step is kind of the same. We're just writing it up and down instead of across, just like Mrs. Hawkins said. Okay, so same thing again. We look at the 4. 4,004 divided by 2 is 2. So we put 2,000 as our partial product up here. We've divided. Now we multiply. 2 times 2 is 4,000. Okay. Now we're going to subtract to see what we're left with. See, these are actually the same numbers. We're doing the same thing here that we did there. Okay. We're left with 276. Let's look at the hundreds. 200 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and we're in the hundreds place, so it's going to be 100 as a partial product. 2 times 100, because we divide, then we multiply, and then we subtract to see what's left. 76. Now we divide. 76 divided by 2. We get 30, or 3 tens. Now 2 times 30, because now we're multiplying, is 60. And we're going to subtract to find the difference, which is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. We subtract. There's no remainder. So now we are going to add up our partial products. Remember, in division, our partial products go on the top. 2,138. So using both methods, we have solved question 12 on page 103. Page 104 has word problems on it, and we are going to work on the last word problem on the page, number 22. A parking garage can hold a total of 762 cars. The same number of cars can park on each floor. So there's going to be equal numbers on each floor. There are 6 floors. How many cars can park on each floor? Okay, word problems are actually a really good way to do division because it helps us to kind of picture what we're working with. So we've got 762 as our divisor, and we've got 6 floors. So we're spreading out all those cars on 6 floors, which is 6 groups. So let's see. We're going to be using the 6 times table because we're dividing by 6. Okay, so you might have that handy. I know I've got the one I've got is really small on the screen. And to help us visualize this, I've got 6 boxes here to make us think of each one of these is a floor in the parking garage. Okay, so we've got our 6 groups or 6 floors of the parking garage that we're going to spread our cars out on. Okay, 762 is the total number of cars. And we've got to figure out the quotient, how many cars on each floor. We spread that 762 out over 6. We're starting in the hundreds place here. 7 divided by 6. Well, if I look at my 6 times table, I can't get exactly to 7, but 6 is pretty close to 7, and that is 1. 6 times 1 gets me close to 700. So 6 times 100. Okay, so I'm actually going to put 100. You know, remember our place value blocks, which represented, the square represented 100. So I'm going to put 100 in each of our parking lot floors down here to help us visualize what's happening. We've taken our 762 cars and we've said, okay, if we split them into hundreds, I can put 100 on each of those floors because 6 times 100 is 600. But I can't do 200s in each one because 6 times 2 is 12 and we've only got 700. Okay, so I'm going to be left, after doing those 600s, I'm going to be left with 162 after I take those away. So let's move those 162 to the tens. So let's look at the 16 tens. 16 divided by 6. So I might look at my 6 times table. And I see that 6 times 2 is 12 and 6 times 3 is 18. Well, we haven't got 18 tens to split into 3. So we'll have to go down to 12 to split into 2. So I can do 2 tens, which is 20, in each group. Okay, remember our 10 sticks, place value blocks, our groups of 10. Okay, so now we know that in each of the parking floors we can fit 100 and 2 tens, and 6 times 20, because we multiply, is 120. Okay, but we've still got some left over once we split those evenly. So 162 minus 120 is 42. So let's put that in the ones and work on this now. 42 divided by 6. Well, I know in my 6 times table that 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, so I'm actually going to put 7 cars in each of my 7 cubes in each of my parking garage floors, okay? Because we've figured out that we can divide those 42 remaining cars Divide onto 6 floors is 7 on each one, okay? 6 times 7 is 42. We have no cars left over. We've evenly split up those 762 cars between 6 floors, and our final quotient for how many cars can park on each floor is 127. And maybe it helped you too to just see that these numbers here, these partial products, we're just sorting into each group how many hundreds, tens, and ones we can have. And we're going to do exactly the same thing in the expanded notation model. 7 divided by 6. We can do that once. That gives us 100 because we're in the hundreds place. 6 times 100, 600. What's left when we've taken those 600 away? 162. Now we're working with tens. 16 divided by 6 is 2. We're in 10, so it's 20. 6 times 20 is 120. The difference is 42. Now we take the 42 and divide by 6, and that's 7. 6 times 7 is 42. We subtract, there's nothing left over. We've got our partial products up the top. We're going to add them up, 127. So the place value sections method and expanded notation method do the same thing, same equations all along. We just write them in either from left to right or from top to bottom. And remember, in both, the partial products are written on the top. We add them up at the end. Your assignment today on page 103, you did the first 6 questions and we solved question 12 together. So you have this 5 to do. Word problems on page 104, and you need to do 18 through 21. Since we solved the parking garage one together, question 22. If you have any questions, ask your teachers. This is a good day of practice, whichever method works for you. Okay, off you go.